Hey, Chris, is it just me, or are you still riding the high from Sunday? Are you still riding the high from Sunday? I think it's Victory Mondays turned into Victory Week.
You see, I got the W up. I'm not going to eat it like Jameis Winston, but
please don't.
But I got the W's up.
Let's get this sucker started.
Get dialed in, Panthers fans. Here comes an in-depth look at your team. Exclusive interviews. Locker room insight.
Ready?
Let's huddle up.
Let's just do it, okay?
For Panthers Playbook, driven by Carolina Ford Dealers. Here are your hosts, Dennis Cox and Chris Lea.
Welcome back to another episode of Panthers Playbook. That's Chris Lea, Dennis Cox here with you. Leave your thoughts in the comments section here below. Have your expectations for this season changed now that Andy Dalton is at quarterback? Before we dive into that here a little bit, Carolina Ford Dealers is your sponsor of Panthers Playbook. Wherever you go, whatever you do, with the power and technology of a Ford F-150 on your team, it's game on. See your Carolina Ford dealer today. And Chris, I was thinking back to Sunday. It's been a fun week. It's a moment that we have not had in a long time here in the state of North Carolina as Panther fan. But I was thinking Sunday has to be more than just a fun moment. It can't be like, hey, remember when Andy dropped 303 tutties?
Yeah.
It can't just be a great moment. Every team, every player is capable of a great moment. But it's what you are consistently is who you are, like what you do consistently. And I hope that the Panthers understand that Sunday can't just be a fun moment. We'll remember it, but it can't just be that.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that with the veteran leadership of Andy Dalton, I think they still can add on to that. I don't think that a win or a loss necessarily continues or discontinues that on Sunday.
Sure.
I'm more so looking at the long run, right? Because also we got to remember who's coming in. The Cincinnati Bengals, who are hungry for a win. Nobody, if you would have said at the beginning of the year, one team going into week 4 between the Bengals, I'll say the battle of the Queen Cities, and we know where the real Queen City is.
Charlotte.
But in the battle of the Queen Cities between the Cats, one team is going to be 0-3, the other team is going to be 1-2. You would think that the Bengals will be 1-2. You think that the Panthers will be 0-3. We would not have guessed that it will be the Bengals 0-3 under any circumstance whatsoever. So this team hungry for a win. They're not an 0-3 team. They're just a good team that just got caught by other good teams over the last 3 weeks. Yeah. So, the Panthers are going to have to look out for that. Here's another thing. I watched QB School. I watched his breakdown of what Andy Dalton did. And I noticed
JT O'Sullivan, right?
JT O'Sullivan.
Yep.
And there's a couple things I saw during the game where there was a couple bad throws. Then JT O'Sullivan was pointing out a lot of times these throws, especially the 2 touchdown passes to Thielen and to Deontay Johnson, those were really just bad. It was bad defense.
Yeah,
from the Raiders. And when I'm looking at it, and the part that JT O'Sullivan doesn't say, but just because we watch Panthers games, it was bad defense because everything you've seen from the Panthers up until then is that everything's going to be underneath. So it felt like that's what the safeties were doing. Now, this team has had a week of preparation for Andy Dalton. They know, okay, he's going to spread it out. This isn't going to be a Bryce Young offense where everything is underneath. Some of those throws may not be possible. Is Andy Dalton going to throw it in harm's way? He could have been picked off a few times on Sunday. Is he going to be smarter with those throws? Or are they going to, do a better job with that? So we'll have to see. There's a lot of questions with it, but you're absolutely right. Building on this past Sunday, it can't just be a moment. You have to still play competitive football and look like you're a real team in the league.
Now, no one's expecting their starting quarterback every single week, with the exception of maybe like 2 guys, to throw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns every single Sunday.
Right.
And there's very few guys in the league that he can do that. I mean, heck, they're even the top guys in the NFL sometimes only throw for like 210 and like 2 touchdowns. Like it's just a reality of it. Now, if Andy keeps throwing 300 plus and 3 tutties, okay. I mean, I ain't gonna hate it.
Looking like an MVP out there.
Like, hey, it might be this year's Joe Flacco. I don't know. Maybe go out there and just start slinging it. But there are questions now going forward about, they do have, like, other teams actually have tape on what your offense looks like when it actually is good. It's like, oh, okay, that's what it's supposed to look like. But also, you're going to be down one of your most reliable targets in Adam Thielen. He's down. He's on injured reserve. He's gone for the next 4 weeks. Jalen Coker gets elevated up. I know a lot of people were very high on him in the offseason, but he's a rookie. Hasn't played in a real NFL game yet. I mean, outside of Deontay Johnson, and David Moore's been in the NFL for a long time, but he's never been like a top-end wide receiver in the league. I think this is where Xavier Legette, first-round pick this year, you got to step up. Jonathon Mingo, you got to elevate your play just a little bit as well, because the whole team has to make up the difference. We saw Tommy Tremble get involved early in the game as well. I wonder if Andy Dalton leans on him a little bit more. Maybe Jadeveon Sanders gets involved. But the loss of Adam Thielen, I think, does kind of change the how this offense is really going to operate, because you don't have old reliable out there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy Tremble did a good job, and he was targeted a pretty decent amount by Andy Dalton. We didn't really see Jadeveon Sanders really targeted. I would like to see that changed.
Yeah,
I like
likewise.
to see him getting a few more opportunities out there, and maybe that could help out. But you did bring up the right two names: Xavier Legette and Jonathon Mingo. Jonathon Mingo didn't put the team in harm's way this past Sunday. That is a plus.
He made a couple plays that didn't show up on the stat sheet. Like, for example, the block he threw on Chuba Hubbard's touchdown. I was like, okay, I see you, young man.
The first down he got when they were backed up at the 4.
Yeah.
Their backs against, the end zone there, and he was able to get that first down off of a good block from Tommy Tremble too. So, those are some of the guys I really want to see step up. I think Xavier Legette also wasn't targeted as much in this past game. I would like to see him get a few more targets, but when he did get his opportunities, he made a lot of it. And the positive in not having Adam Thielen there is that everybody that's going to be on that field is going to be able to run at a normal NFL speed, right? That's no shade to Adam Thielen. He's just a tick behind everybody else.
Still gets open.
Still gets open, though. That's the thing, though. He still gets open. So maybe this is a situation where Andy Dalton can make quicker decisions on where he throws it. He was making some quick decisions this past Sunday, no matter what. But also the part that you're going to be missing is that guy who's always open. He's reliable, and he's pretty much going to catch everything that's going to go his way. So we're going to have to see what happens with that. But I'm excited to see what this team looks like just without him for a little bit, just to see if those guys can step up. And also Deontay Johnson. You don't need to have the same game that you had, because it was a career high, literally his best game.
Unless you're going to do it.
Unless you're going to do it, bro.
Unless you're going to do it.
Unless you're going to do it, man, because you want to get paid, right? Perfect opportunity to step up.
Oh, yeah. Just, if you pull down 8 for 122 and a tutty, I'm all in. I'm all in on that. This is also, I think, where you still got to keep in mind, very new play caller. He's only called 20 games in Dave Canales. This is where he's going to get tested. He's like, okay, they have tape on me. How do I stay ahead of how another team might react to what we did? How am I going to use my personnel groupings? How am I change up formations and different things like that to stay ahead of what other teams might be doing? So it's like, you got to stay ahead of the curve. Maybe he goes 2 tight ends more. Now, there's also no Damian Lewis, it looks like, for this Sunday as well. Looks like Chandler Zavala is going to start at left guard. Does that impact your running game? All different things, like all these different factors that kind of play into a game each week. But I'm excited. I don't know if my expectations for the season have changed, Chris. I think the offense that we saw Sunday was what people were hoping to see with Bryce Young.
Yeah.
I think that was the expectation. Maybe not 36 points, every single game, but a competent offense that was balanced in terms of, we got some shots downfield. We can work in the intermediate. We can go on the side, the middle, balanced run game. I think the expectation for me is still like a 6-win team. But I'd be damned if I'm not excited.
Yeah.
Be damned if I'm not excited.
I think for me, the expectations did change because they changed after the first 2 games.
Yes.
Like it went from, okay, I think this team can win 6-7 games, and maybe down like towards the end, we're saying this is a possible fringe playoff team. Cause I wasn't expecting the Saints to be really good. And they lost this past Sunday. Yeah. They came back down to earth. So we'll still see what happens in the NFC South. But then after I saw the first 2 games, I was like, I don't know if this team is going to win 2 games this year. And now all of a sudden,
number 1 pick, yeah.
Now all of a sudden under Andy Dalton, it's like, all right, it's looking pretty good. It looks like we can win, just off the strength of Andy Dalton a few more games. So it went back up to that 6, 7, maybe 8 range because there are some winnable games here. And let's just say it how it is. Like that Chicago game, right? Like even though Caleb Williams and Chicago have done decent, Caleb Williams himself hasn't arrived yet. And
their O-line stinks.
Their O-line stinks, right? And our defense started playing better, and that's the main thing. Can they continue to play really well?
Yes.
Because if our defense can start shutting down their wide receivers, when we're talking about Chicago again, we're way ahead of ourselves talking about Chicago. I think that our defense can end up rattling the rookie and Caleb Williams, and that could be a win right there on the road, which will be huge. And another Andy Dalton revenge game too at that. So that's something to look at. Here's something I wanted to point out though to you, Dennis.
Andy Dalton revenge tour, baby. Let's go.
Oh, he's got like literally all the teams on the list right now.
Oh yeah.
Cowboys coming up later on.
Yep.
Of course, Saints again. So we'll see what happens. But here's what I wanted to bring up. According to PFF, Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt. Remember, those are the 2 guards that we went and got in the offseason in free agency. Combined for 81 reps this past Sunday. They were only beaten in one of those 81 reps combined. Right? Right now, the Carolina Panthers, as far as their interior offensive line, not the entire offensive line, interior, guards and center, have the number 1 ranked interior offensive line in the NFL. They were 31st in the NFL for their interior last year. This is one of those things that is not very sexy. Not a lot of people are really talking about it.
Nope.
And because of the first 2 games, people were already talking crap about Dave Canales, but also Dan Morgan. Hey, Dan Morgan, you did that.
Yeah, you did.
You did that.
You did it
because it's happening. It is happening, and they are here.
They're right here, Chris.
They're here.
They're here.
And that's the really encouraging thing about the Carolina Panthers is that for the offense, Dave Canales, I think, prematurely said that the wide receiver group was probably his best group coming out of training camp. That's not the case. It's your offensive line.
Yeah.
When was the last time we said about the Carolina Panthers that your offensive line is the strength of your offense? Because it wasn't the case for Cam.
Nope. No, it wasn't. And definitely
it's why
wasn't the
Cam
case
isn't,
last year.
It's why Cam isn't playing right now.
Yeah, that's part of it. That's
so
part of it.
It's I'm so excited, and I think that's something that needs to be talked about more. It sucks that that Damian Lewis is going to miss the game, but they look like they're sold on Chandler Zavala and what he can do. Yeah, and hopefully he does step up and play a little bit better. And it might be the difference in center play because last year he was getting beat all over the place next to Bradley Bozeman. Maybe Austin Corbett is going to keep him together a little bit more.
Might be. Here's the thing. Andy Dalton was only hurried 3 times. I mean, it took a couple sacks. Hurried 3 times. That was it. That's it. Pockets were clean. Like clean. And and there are a couple times where Dalton, if he did get a little bit of pressure, he could step up, avoid it, or slide to the right, slide to the left, slide, slippity slide. And he was able to deliver the ball. For example, the Deontay Johnson touchdown. Pressure was coming from his left because Ike Ekwonu got beat. He takes a little step to his right, drops it in there, takes a hit, touchdown. That's something we weren't seeing 2 weeks ago.
Facts.
Week 1, week 2, we weren't seeing that with Bryce Young, which makes me wonder, Chris, if people saw, NFL teams are seeing the same games that we're watching, and they say, wait a second, the offense is working with Andy Dalton, or at least we saw it this week, and with Bryce Young, the former number 1 overall pick, he couldn't do those things. You think his trade value took a dip? Or I don't say a dip, fell off a cliff? Fell off a cliff, maybe?
Definitely fell off.
I don't know if teams are really going to offer a whole lot for Bryce.
Definitely fell off a cliff, but according to Joe Person and The Athletic, teams, basically the Panthers would have a hard time getting anything better than a day 3 pick for Bryce Young right now. And to me,
Yeah.
if that's the case, might as well keep him.
At least through this season.
At least through this season to kick the tires, see what's there. But even with that, like, what do you do next year? Like, you know, he still has the years left of the deal, so you're gonna have to try to trade him anyway.
Mm-hmm. So,
you know, it's, you know, unless they're cool with the 4th rounder. But if that's all you're gonna get, you might as well just see what's there. Honestly,
I'm fine after this season if they trade him for a 4th. That's fine by me.
Really,
cut your losses, move forward. Cut your losses and move forward. Because I know I got Jack. If Jack Plummer is going to be a decent backup,
there he goes, capping for Bryce Young again. I didn't say anything positive about Bryce Young. I didn't say anything positive about Bryce Young. No,
honestly,
just that I think he's worth more than a 4th. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a team might do it, but here's the thing: if you believe that Jack Plummer, for example, is good enough to be your backup quarterback, if you think he is, then make him your backup. I mean, there's a lot of like cheaper options that you can go with other than keeping him, because you can move on from that cap hit also as well. Like, I know it's a rookie contract, but it is still first overall pick. You know what? Take the cap space. That's fine by me. If he ain't going to play him, go ahead and move forward. Like, separate yourself from it. That's the way I view it. But I honestly, if you keep him for the rest of the year, fine. Because if you trade him now and you elevate Jack Plummer, you're one bad moment away from Jack Plummer being your QB.
Yeah,
and maybe Jack Plummer is better. I don't know.
I don't want that.
I don't know. I don't want that for Jack Plummer. That's a difficult situation for him. But I would say after the season, if someone offered you a 4th, cool. Take it. Go for it.
I mean, honestly, if we have Jack Plummer in at quarterback, you might as well keep Bryce.
I guess.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
the
difference is Jack Plummer is tall. But, like,
oh, yeah.
You know, it's just Jack Plummer didn't look good the first 2 weeks of the preseason against 3rd and 4th string defenses. You know, he looked better in the 3rd week.
Yeah,
he did a better job. So he showed some improvement, which is good. But he's not going to go against 3rd and 4th string defenses.
Nope.
You know, if he were to come into play, he's going to go against real NFL. Like, he's going to have guys like when the Saints come back to town. He's going to have Cam Jordan coming after. When they play Atlanta, he's going to have to throw against Jesse Bates.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Matthew
Judon, like, come on, I'd take Bryce over that. But I mean, that's just me. There he goes again. Talking about Bryce Young. He loves Bryce Young. He says nothing negative about Young. Bryce Young and Jack Plummer.
Which
one would you rather have?
No. I just hope we never get to that point.
Yeah.
But I will say this though, Chris, is that for me, something I've noticed based off the comments that people leave, which by the way, keep leaving the comments, there seems to be among Panthers fans, and we can wrap up on this, like a renewed sense of energy that this team has not felt in a long time. I know there's a bit of that when we had Steve Wilkes and there was that little push there at the end of the 2022 season, but it felt like there was a renewed sense of energy. Like, wait a second. This is what competent offense looks like. This is what competent quarterback play looks like. This is what a competent offense looks like. Oh, wait, our defense is making plays now. Oh, our defense isn't out there on the field trailing in a game. They're actually playing with a lead. Those kinds of things matter. There was a sense of energy that I felt from the fans. And you know what? I know it's just one game, but when you haven't had that feeling in a while, you latch onto it. And Chris, I do not blame them.
Here's one thing I want to talk about really quick before we end this thing.
Okay.
Dave Canales said Jonathan Brooks, DJ Wanham, Dane Jackson, and Amari Barno in the final stages of returning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reinforcements, baby.
I'm excited. Because if you think about what is the weakness we talked about on defense?
Edge rusher.
So Amari Barno, not expecting him to do a great job with that, but maybe he gets a little bit better. Maybe he shows some improvement. But also, he is somebody that stands out on special teams. Not that special teams have been bad, but the first week it wasn't too good. So to have another guy that you really trust, as we're also waiting for Sam Franklin to come back, that's going to be important. But I'm excited to see DJ Wanham on the other side of Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah.
And shouts out to Charles Harris, man. I thought he looked pretty good in his first game.
Didn't look bad.
And like, you know, he there wasn't a lot of pressure from the Panthers defensive line, but I did feel like he was around the ball a lot, and he definitely set some edges. I think he's going to continuously get better. But now, if you have DJ Wanham, Charles Harris, and Jadeveon and Clowney as your main guys, and we can not have to use DJ Johnson as much, hey, I'm with that. I think that's going to be good.
Did you notice Trevin Wallace playing a little bit on the edge on Sunday?
And Shaq.
Like, they started using those guys a little bit on the edge too.
And I liked what I saw from both guys.
I'm for it.
I liked what I saw from both guys because we need to use more packages, get more people towards the quarterback. And I'm excited to see what Dane Jackson does because Mike Jackson has already looked phenomenal.
He's looked good.
J.C. Horn has gotten better over the season. He didn't have a good first game, I don't think. But he's gotten better overall this season. If he stays healthy, that's good. So having Jackson, and Horn are going to look really good back there. And then Jonathon Brooks.
Ooh.
Man.
Ooh.
Him and Chuba.
Ooh. Ooh.
Him and Chuba, bro.
Ooh.
Jonathon Brooks and Chuba?
Let's go.
Jonathon Brooks and Chuba.
Let's go. I might get a Chuba. I'm just saying.
I was gonna say, I don't think you heard me, but you heard me.
Oh, I heard
you about to break out the baby oil, just like Diddy. Because Jonathon Brooks and Chuba, bro. Okay? That's all I gotta say. I'm ready.
I'm ready. You know what? I'm ready for it right here.
I'm ready.
For the Ford F-150 on your team, it's game on. See your Carolina Ford dealer today. Carolina Ford dealers, your sponsors of Panthers Playbook. You all right there?
I mean, I am dealing with a little something, you know what I'm saying? A little something going around. So I wasn't able to hit that note like I normally do. I'll come back next week and I'll be better.
We'll be better on Sunday because you and I are both going to be at Bank of America Stadium. We're going to be in the locker room. We're going to talk to players. We're going to talk to Canales, the whole bit. We'll be in the press conference.
Jonathon Brooks and Chuba, though. I'm ready.
We'll see you on Sunday.